welcome back to another edition of the GridIron Throne podcast. I'm your host, Jeff, and I'm here with my counterpart here, the sheriff, Rich. How you doing?
Good, buddy. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. Always excited. We're like, what, 8 Sundays away from, the red zone, the octo box.
Oh my God, my fucking balls are tingling just thinking about it. My
I
balls are very few things, Jeffrey. A couple of them I can't name, but one of them I can, and that is to hear Scott Hansen on Sundays tell me if I'm ready for 7 hours of commercial-free football, and I am.
Yeah, the iconic countdown. I always make sure I take like a little Snapchat or a little Instagram post of it just because it's too good not to. And it's just like, like you're just gonna be a piece of shit for like, especially it used to be better when you used to be hungover, just like laying on the couch, just watching that.
No, I purposely would get fucked up on Saturday and enjoy my Saturday night to wake up hungover as shit, get some breakfast, smoke a little bit, watch football. It's nothing better.
Yeah, exactly. We do have to address the elephant in the room. We're both wearing tie dye. That's just hilarious. Mine's actually the Trinidad and Tobago from D2 Mighty Ducks.
Rolling Stones.
Yep, Rolling Stones. Ironically, not a big Stones fan here.
A couple songs. But,
yeah. I couldn't pick them out of a lineup, to be quite honest with you. Yeah. Anyway, let's hit on the news. Recently, I know today James Robinson actually signed with the Giants, and the overarching reason why Saquon and Josh Jacobs both holding out contract situations. Rich is giggling over here because he just traded me Saquon, but you know what? These guys are going to get paid. I'm not concerned in the least bit with this one. Now, like other situations in the past, I have like been like, hey, get me off this player. I've traded them away. I've done some sort of maneuvering. And then they end up blowing up and having a great year. I still think that's going to happen for Saquon. I think, did you hear his podcast or no? The podcast he was on? He went on a podcast and pretty much weighed his options. He's 60-40 right now about holding out, not doing it. He really said basically in quotations, fuck the Giants. Do I really want to fuck them over? Do I want to fuck over my teammates? Yeah, he's kind of going back and forth with it, but I think he'll be there. I think Josh Jacobs will be there. If not, Zamir White, pound the accept on that one. Send out some second round picks for those. Not like he's going to be good, but you never know. If Jacobs decides to hold out, maybe this will be the turning of the new leaf where, we see that. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, James Robinson just signed with the Giants.
Melvin Gordon went to where Melvin Gordon go? He signed somewhere today too.
Well, he went to Baltimore, and that's interesting because J.K. Dobbins is I almost said Josh Dobbs. Ooh. Dobbins is undisclosed. They said it's a soft tissue issue. He said it was another contract issue, like fighting for like a new contract.
Okay.
So similar to that, could be both, but that's $3 million that they just burned for no reason.
Yeah,
like Melvin doesn't have much left, but they have Gus Edwards. They have some other options. Trying to think. Any other news that really was noteworthy? Aaron Rodgers, the Jets are on Hard Knocks, so that's cool. Yeah. I think so far so good. Everything's like looking good for the Jets for once. It's too good to be true.
Yeah, no, they're looking good. I think Aaron made the comment that he doesn't like the fucking cameras, but that's just Aaron being a little fucking prima donna about literally everything.
Yeah,
that about literally everything.
Yeah, but he's attending. He was at OTAs. He was at training, like the June training camp that they do. So you can't forget it. Like he's actually proving he wants to be there, and he's lifting. So a lot of people were calling for regression out of him, but I think we'll be good to go. And then on this podcast, we're also going to be talking about breakouts, sleepers, and some busts that we each have come up with a couple to go through. That being said, let's start with our sleepers. Who do you got, Rich, for quarterbacks?
Quarterbacks, sleepers. We got two for each of these. I got Russell Wilson and Deshaun Watson. I think Russell Wilson can't have a worse year than last year. So new coach in town. A lot of I feel like they added on the offensive end. I can't think here.
They spent like $160 million on their offensive line, I think. So I don't know what the time frame is for that, but they did spend on it. So he could only go up from here. I think I think those are good picks. And then Watson, definitely. He only played like what, four games last year, or how many games did he play?
Maybe 6. I don't.
Yeah,
I
something,
don't
give or take a handful. That's a lot of rust. That's a lot of rust of like,
sure. Yeah.
you know,
Well, you think you would have got it off, but
yeah. Dick jokes, love it. Yeah, and then he's also with a new team. So like he never played with them prior to that. He was with the Texans. He tore his ACL. He got, suspended, and then he was with the Browns. So he, a little time, but I think he's got some weapons around him. Cooper is solid every year. Every year he is, and then Donovan Peoples Jones and Elijah Moore.
and Ninjoku somehow is still on the team. So
You know what? He's been a sneaky player over. If you look at
that's why
statistics,
it's hard for them to get rid of him. They could never
yeah,
get rid of him. They went and signed Austin Hooper and then got rid of him during the whole time of still having David Njoku. Like,
yeah, ridiculous. Going on my sleepers, I have your boy Jared Goff. Reason I am saying that is without Jahmyr Gibbs, Sam Laporta, Jameson Williams, Jared Goff still passed for over 4,438 yards last year. Adding those three players on top of Amon-Ra St. Brown, he can only go up from there. I think that they're going to throw a lot. I think they're going to throw a lot to the running back this year, and their offensive line is elite. Watch out for the Lions. He also was the QB 10, and he threw 29 touchdowns last year. I think that's insane. It's a late round pick, redraft or not. I mean, you can never go wrong with a good QB 2. I mean, if you need him in a pinch, he's there, and he's only 28 years old.
Yeah.
And my next one, kind of a little bit later of a sleeper, but he's really not because he just gets slept on, is Kirk Cousins.
Of course.
He's ugly as fuck when it comes to, overall, but he's top 10 in efficiency, number 4 in pass volume, number 5 in passing yards, and he just got arguably the best route runner in Jordan Addison. Also 140 miles per hour getting pulled over, but
you're telling me he was sober doing 140 at 3 in the morning, Jeffrey?
According to everything, he is. I mean, they're investigating a little bit further, but
no fucking chance.
Yeah,
no fucking chance. Been around the block, Jeffrey. As of you, no fucking chance.
No. So, I mean, we'll see what happens, but either way, as long as everything goes good with that, I mean, KJ Osborne looked good. Like you mentioned, TJ Hawkinson earlier, he's solid. He's a solid option too. So, I mean, Kirk gets slept on. Yeah, he does have those Sunday night Kirks where you watch it and he throws for 4 interceptions and he's terrible. But that being said, another good fantasy option. Who are your breakouts?
Justin Fields, that's no surprise to literally fucking anybody. And then if it was a 14-man league, we'll go Trevor Lawrence. He's bound to break out. But I just think first and foremost, it's going to be Justin Fields, and then secondly,
Are we going to compare him to are we just going to go down the line where it's like, okay, Josh Allen got Diggs, he broke out. AJ Brown went to Philly, Hurts broke out. Are we going to go down that same route? Because personally, I think Fields will do it with his feet. And I think he's going to try to throw. I think he's still inefficient. I think the Bears just have such a stink on them that, I mean, I could be completely wrong, but I think he's going to be one that will be an interesting watch all year.
I don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think DJ Moore is going to be the guy to break him out. Guy to break him out will be next year, Marvin Harrison Jr. when he gets back.
So you think that they're going to be bad enough to get
No, we have who's pick?
Carolina.
Panthers. So I do think the Panthers are going to be that bad.
Yeah, it's possible. I think Arizona and Houston, but I mean, it's possible. You never know. My breakouts: Jordan Love with Green Bay. I think he could be a system quarterback. I think he's got enough zing in his arm that with some of the options around him, I think he could grow with them. I think they can grow with him as well. He's got Jaron Reed, he's got Christian Watson or Watson, and then who's the other schmuck? Romeo Dubes too. And
Yeah.
they also just drafted 2 new tight ends. So you never know. And he still got the safety net of Aaron Jones. So that one, I could see him breaking out, being like maybe a top 15 quarterback. And then my deep breakout, Sam Howell. Reason behind him, he's got 2 elite wide receivers to throw to, and he looked decent in the one fucking game that he played last year. Nothing too statistical with him. He looked good. I think he had a lot of potential in college. Um, Also coaching changes. He's got a new offensive coordinator that, we'll see what he does. Is it just the Mahomes effect that Eric B knows what he's doing, or you know, does he know what he's doing? Oh, I guess I'll repeat myself on it, but we'll see. Who are your busts?
Busts. Daniel Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo. Daniel Jones, I know there might be some riff today about him being a 75 overall in Madden. But I personally support that decision. I think Danny Dimes is fucking ass. He's a fucking fraud. Doesn't
we're dropping the F word, frauds here.
Fraud. He is a fraud. He's a phony.
We should get a little alarm for every time we call someone a fraud. We just hit the little alarm.
That'd be actually funny. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm annoyed about his fucking 45-point game in the championship.
Yeah, believe me, I've eaten enough of those myself. So across all the leagues I'm in, I've faced
a touchdown game. But then Jimmy Garoppolo, I think we're at the tail end. I don't even think Jimmy cares about playing football. I don't know.
I think he got a paycheck, and we'll see what happens with him too. I mean, Adams is completely against it, so we'll see what the Raiders even look like. My bust is kind of somebody that used to be on the Raiders. I'm going to go with Derek Carr. I think there's a lot of expectations that he is this elite quarterback. I am actually a Derek Carr fan, so this kind of hurts me to say it, but I think that there's going to be all these expectations for him to be elite, and I don't think they're going to throw the ball enough for him to get that volume. They might, and that is the best team in that division currently because their defense is stout. They do have Chris Olave. They have Michael Thomas for the 2 games that he'll probably play. And then Rashid Shaheed. He's solid. Solid number 3, wide receiver there. I just think his ADP is a little too high. And then the obvious bust would be Mac Jones with New England. He can't even handle being a system quarterback.
No, he can't. That's just a fact.
Yeah. And so we'll see what happens. I think they, either look otherwise or go Bailey Zappi and see what they can move with him. And that's not great either, but we'll see what happens. All right. Moving into running backs. Who's your sleeper?
Miles Sanders, Carolina, and Travis Etienne. I think that's probably just going to be a good situation for Miles Sanders. Not that Philadelphia wasn't, but I think he's just going to get a lot more volume now too, especially rookie QB coming in, and typically rookie QB equals run the ball. So
yeah, I think he's going to get I think just based off of volume, they could have a down script and he's going to break off that big run, and maybe a 50-60 yard run that puts him on the board, and then you're like, you'll be up 35 points, and all of a sudden it's like, what the hell, I'm only up 5 because he does that. So
yep.
And an NTN, that's a good one too. I think he is going to be elite this year. I think people are worried way too much about Tank Bigsby. They're reading too much in the press about it. That's NTN's. As long as he's healthy, he'll be out there. He's going to be the elite.
Skill level's not even comparable.
Right. Not even close. So you're gonna be intrigued with this one. So my sleeper is Damian Harris from Buffalo. There's a lot of hype around James Cook and even Latavius Murray being there. The problem is Latavius Murray is 33, a lot of tread on those tires, and James Cook is under 200 pounds. He's not going to get the goal line carries. He's smaller. He might get those, wheel routes, the screens. That's fine. But when it comes to push and shove, the touchdowns are going to go to Damian Harris because they've come out and said, I think either Josh Allen or their offensive coordinator said that they're going to be handing the ball off more and trying to preserve Josh Allen from, taking them as many hits. And since 2020, Damian Harris has been number 2 in ability to earn touchdowns per touch. He's number 7 in red zone rushing grades. And that's with sharing carries in New England. And that, Wild Bill loves to just churn out running backs and let them go. And the Bills, they ran the sixth most red zone plays last year. All this sets up for Harris to be way better than people are expecting. You could get him super late in any draft, redraft, dynasty, startups, even cheap. He could be like that cheap option that you're actually going after a different target. And this guy might just want to get rid of him because he gets scared off because of James Cook, etc. What are your thoughts on Harris?
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely onto something there. I'm not a believer in James Cook. Who else did they sign? You signed another person.
Latavius Murray was the guy.
That's what. Yeah. So like again, that's not that might be your goal line carries right there. If anything, I think that's more of just a safety blanket move, honestly.
When one of them gets hurt.
Exactly, like inevitably.
And my last sleeper would be James Conner. As we know, Kyler Murray is coming off of the ACL. We'll see what happens. I think this is just a volume play. I think once again, this is just they're going to hand the ball off. They're going to keep the ball out of McCoy's hands or whoever it ends up being. He had a 71.7 opportunity share, which was 8th in the league, and the depth chart won't change that. If you look at the Arizona Cardinals depth chart behind him, it's him. People like to speculate on Keontae Ingram just based off of James Conner's injury history. I think James Conner can be that running back that propels you, at least in the beginning of the season. And it all depends on how long Kyler's hurt. Apparently, I'm hearing week 1 he might be back. A lot of people said week 6. We'll see what happens. I still think they're going to be very, very bad. That being said, he was also 12th in targets, so he's catching the ball in the backfield. 13th in receptions, he caught 46. 6th in snap share, so he's always on the field. And then he runs routes at a 53.2% rate. That sets up for a good sleeper.
Yeah, I would agree. No, I like that one. I probably would have picked that one myself.
All right, breakouts.
This one's kind of easy. It's going to be Bijan. I think a lot of people have Bijan in that's placeholder. And then Breece Hall, just because we saw the flash of it last year, and then of course, the turf monster had to take away his ACL.
Of course,
because why not?
Yeah, I agree with both of them.
Fuck Michael Carter. So
yeah, just moved him for Elijah Mitchell actually in our league.
Saw that.
Yeah, smart move for both. He had Breece, I had CMC. Helps out both. That being said, I think Breece, we're going to see Breece become Breece again by week 3. I think he's going to have electric numbers. And obviously Bijan in an Arthur Smith run heavy offense. He will be in the top 5 category going forward. My breakouts are Cam Akers. So you might be wondering, why Cam Akers, Jeff? Well, he broke out at week 13 on. In his final 6 games, do you know what he was ranked?
I think 1.
Top 5 overall. I just left it broad with that one, but he was in the top 5. He was averaging 18 points per game on 19.2 touches. Sean McVay even came out and said they're going to run the ball this year. The year before, they ran the hell out of it with him. They really enjoyed Akers. I don't know what happened last year with that. I think the whole team was a mess. I think they're going to run the ball a lot more and get back to Rams football. Currently, Cam Akers goes the 22nd running back off the board in drafts. That's insane to me. I think that's way too late. I think that's a sleeper breakout pick if I could pick one. He could be your running back 3 off the board and get him super late, and you could build the rest of your team around other pieces, and he'll fit in just fine. Also, when he was hot, he became that bell cow back, and there's really no one there. Kieran Williams is too small. Doesn't really catch the ball all that well. They brought in Zach Evans, but that's a 6th-round pick. I'm not really going to go wild over those. No one else is really there.
Legend.
Yeah. And then he also ran some good routes. He ran about 5 to 15 per game, and then carries went from 10.4 to 21 per game. And then my deep breakout, Jaylen Warren from Pittsburgh. Anything happens to Najee, he's right there. He was also on the field quite a bit with, I think they ran like 8 plays a game with both Najee and Warren on the field. I think they're going to preserve Najee. I don't think they're going to like run him into the ground. They might, because that's what they do with running backs in Pittsburgh at least. But Warren played in all 16 games last year. He had 77 carries for 379 yards, 1 touchdown, 28 receptions for 214. He averaged 4.9 yards per carry. I think that's a really good number for that late of a backup running back. It's pretty good. He's actually been better statistically than Najee was across the board in 2 years.
Yep, no, I like Warren as that in that slot. Did he have an injury last year? Something, was it a hamstring or was it the year before?
It was Najee had so I mean Najee came off he had a Liz Frank injury last year and he didn't miss a game. That's what's insane. So he basically played on 1 foot all year last year. I think he will bounce back, but I also think there's enough workload in that offense. I think they are still going to run the hell out of the ball, regardless, because it's still Kenny Pickett. Until we see otherwise, I think we're just going to see them still run the ball.
Yeah, Kenny Pickett could have been a candidate for 14 team breakout for sure.
Yeah, I do. I mean, he'd be a good pick for it. I mean, can't beat it. Who's your busts?
Khalil Herbert, Bears, Rasheed White, Tampa Bay. I don't know. Everybody seems to be in on Herbert. I understand. He looks like he's a pretty good runner. Just I'm not sold. I guess I just want somebody elite. And Khalil Herbert's just a band-aid because we don't know what to do. And then Rachaad White, I can't believe they're going to start that guy. Like it's wow.
So I also have Rachaad White on my bust list as well. Right. And mine is just based off of how bad that offense is going to be. People are trying to sell it that they're going to be just as good, even without Brady, maybe not like have the Brady effect, but to give him the volume of running the hell out of the ball because they really don't have anyone behind him. So I have seen a lot of, opportunities for him to break out. I don't think he will. I think he will be one of those players that struggles a lot. And if he does put up these 20, 30-point games, it's going to be based off of him getting 30 touches a game. Khalil Herbert, I agree. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed. I think there's a lot of unknown. You also have to look at it this way too, is you have a running quarterback. He's going to take away goal line carries. Also, they have Deontay Foreman for a reason. They're going to run him into the ground.
2 other pieces I should have added. And yeah, like very important pieces as to why I don't fuck with Herbert.
Yeah. I mean, I do like him.
That Fields goal line and then Devontae Foreman goal line. And then I'm sure, again, Roshan, too many mouths to feed.
Yeah. And then, as I said, I had White as my bust as well, but my other bust is Isaiah Pacheco. He's also hurt. We forgot to mention that at the beginning of the show, but he's hurt. He might miss like 6 weeks. He's not really that good, but he averaged less points per game than Brian Robinson, A.J. Dillon, Elijah Mitchell, Samaje Perine.
He played more than all of them.
Antonio Gibson, and Damian Harris. Most of those guys were all backups last year.
That's what I was saying. Yeah.
And he has no insulation because that offense has so many mouths. They will use Jerick McKinnon. They did get Prince. I know I saw you picked him with your last pick. Good dart throw. You never know. But like, they have other mouths to feed. They will probably bring in someone again, like maybe a vet just to fill in a role. Especially with him. Yeah. He's not really that good.
He just has a high motor. The cuts aren't fucking like crisp. Like it takes him forever to like break into a cut because his feet fucking are chopping so fast because he's so tiny. Like
it's kind of like Brian Robinson. If you ever watch him run, go watch a YouTube video of him run. It looks like he's running in sand.
Yeah.
Just so slow. Like you see like an open hole. And then and that's what was so funny about Antonio Gibson, who also I thought about putting in my sleeper or breakout because I think that he is going to get utilized more as like a pass catcher. He just looks so slow cutting through the holes. He basically all of his like big games last year were based off of him getting 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And yes, they're going to run the ball, but I also think they will utilize Gibson a little bit more. That being said, let's touch on our wide receivers.
Okay, sleepers. We're gonna go D Hop, just because he went to the Titans and there's nobody there. Quite literally nobody to throw the ball to at all. So, but then again, this was the same situation with Julio, and we know that just didn't work out. Wide receivers go to Tennessee to die. That's where their careers go. Randy Moss, Andre Johnson. Man, there's a lot actually. So I don't feel good about that move whatsoever, but it does open up the potential to be a really good sleeper. And then Mike Evans, and I only pick Mike Evans solely based on the fact that he's had like 8 or maybe now he has 9 1,000 consecutive receiving yards, which is just a fucking crazy feat that only other I think Julio has done. So you can't count him out until that consecutiveness is gone. I think
Exactly.
it could be gone just because I didn't check the stats, but I think it's still.
Yeah, he did have a bunch of 1,000 points. You're not buying the Kool-Aid of Treylon Burks.
No, I am really not. I wasn't buying it last year when he needed his fucking inhaler. I'm not buying it still.
Yeah.
I will buy into Will Levis throwing bombs to D Hop though. I'll buy into that.
I think Tannehill will still be the guy. I think he's good enough.
I want that guy out of the league. I just don't like him.
I know we were just touching on the fact that you don't believe in Treylon Burks. And you do like Will Levis. I do think Tannehill is going to be solid, like I said at the end of that podcast. That being said, I think they are going to be a sleeper team. I think Hopkins is too good to fall apart like that. He was serviceable with Colt McCoy, that being said. So we do have to remember that. That being said, okay, let's touch on my sleepers. DK Metcalf. I got DK because in 22 games with Geno Smith, DK averages 15 points, 7.8 targets, and he's number 2 in red zone targets and 10th on deep targets last year.
Okay, we like that for sure. They have a really good connection for surprisingly for like how Tyler Lockett's kind of always had the grip on WR1 over there that I don't know the balls. There's been enough share for both of those receivers. But yeah, I'll be like DK a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And then so I did have I'll mention this. This is my honorable mention. I think Brandon Cooks will be back this year. He's my deep sleeper. One of them, but he's my honorable mention. My other one is Jaden Reed out of Michigan State. I think he's versatile. I think he has a lot of college experience. I think Michigan State they had a lot of issues where a lot of people transferred out. If they had a better QB, he would have been even better. He did have 59 catches in 2021 with a 26.3 target share, 1,026 yards, and 10 touchdowns. So I think with him being in Green Bay, a number 1 job is open. I like Christian Watson, but I think people are gonna slip by him.
Yep.
All
yeah,
right.
and in Jordan Love's case, you're throwing whoever's open, bro.
Oh yeah. There's no more like the Rodgers Adams connection there.
Yeah, there's no favoritism. There's, like Tate needs his catches or, fucking whatever. It's like it's kind of nice when you like start over again as a franchise and you don't have to worry about those individual players. And because you're all starting at the same point, and so it's like whoever gets the fucking ball gets the ball. There's no bitching around here, and that's what makes it hard fantasy wise now. Because you're right, like Christian Watson, Romeo Dubes, like those should be your top 2 guys, but they don't necessarily. There could be wide receiver 3 coming out.
Yeah.
Or the time, one of the time, who was one of their tight ends they drafted? He could pop off.
Luke Musgrave. Got him off waivers.
Iowa.
Luke Musgrave, I think was Oregon State. I think.
Shit, I don't know. Okay, no, Laporte is Iowa though.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, Luke Musgrave was Oregon State. Good. Perfect. That being said, hit me with your breakouts.
Breakouts, Garrett Wilson, just strictly because Aaron Rodgers is going to make him the next Tay, which we like. And then Calvin Ridley because he had to, fucking set a year on some bullshit. So, he's going to be on a fucking mission. And then that's where, if he breaks out, T-Law breaks out, MTN breaks out, Jags are in the fucking Super Bowl.
Yeah, very well could be. They have to go through Joe Cool, though, and Mahomes first, though.
Jags are in the Super Bowl.
It's a bold take. I do like
that's a hot one. That's a hot one.
That's very hot. Don't want to touch that one. Probably good betting odds, though.
You know it. Yeah.
Okay, so my breakout, Jerry Jeudy. I think it's time.
I hope so.
Yeah.
For Russ's sake. Fuck.
The good news is, over his last 8 games, he averaged 18.3 fantasy points on 7.9 targets. That's always good. And only Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson had a higher catch percentage than Jeudy did. So he's and he's going to be in line for major targets too.
Yes.
And then my second deep breakout, you're going to like this one, Zay Flowers from Baltimore.
I'm in on that. Sure.
So far, everything I know, once again, I kind of contradicting myself, but everything in camp is saying that he's been the best player out of the wide receiver corps. Granted, Bateman's kind of banged up again, recovering. And an OBJ is just older, He did have 130.
Oh, OBJ then. OBJ thinks he's still elite.
Right. So. I mean, Lamar will make him look elite, but that being said, he did have 130 targets last season at Boston College. That's got to stand for something. And now he'll be in a new Ravens offense that doesn't run the ball specifically. They're going to pass.
Per Lamar, the source, per the horse's mouth.
Yep. All right, hit me with your busts.
Bust, Brandon Ayuk, Michael Pittman. Brandon Ayuk, just because I feel like that guy's just never lived up to the expectations. And Debo is still gonna get those targets. And then Michael Pittman, because I think he has expectations to be really good this year, and I just don't see it happening because AR is not going to be ready for that type of, connection. Maybe next year, a good breakout, depending on how that relationship develops. Yep. Maybe next year, Michael Pittman would be like a sleeper or, a breakout guy. But just this year, I think he's going to bust purely on the fact of who his quarterback is and not really anything that he's going to do.
Exactly. I also do have Michael Pittman on mine. Mine is strictly on the fact that it's a run-heavy offense. They like to run it through JT, and the fact that Anthony Richardson also loves to run the ball. So that's going to take away a lot of red zone targets. So that's your bread and butter. My other bust is DJ Moore. Sure. I think this is just I've seen a lot of big games out of DJ Moore. I've also gotten burnt by a lot of games by DJ Moore. I don't think he moves the needle that significantly for Justin Fields. I think it's going to hurt. I mean, unless Darnell Mooney breaks out and becomes this elite target, which that'd be hilarious because you just traded more for him.
Pat would have a fucking mental breakdown.
I probably would too. I think he's going to be good. I think people are taking him way too high, and I think people are just buying the Kool-Aid that they're going to start throwing the ball more. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that he's not going to have the time to throw the ball more. But we'll see. Like I said, I hope I'm wrong.
He was 4,000 yards this year.
So. Yeah, according to him. Yeah, we'll see. I'll believe it when I see it. And who was your other bust again? Your first one?
Brandon Ayuk.
Oh, yeah. A lot of mouths to feed. You have CMC and you have Kittle as well.
Yeah, there you go. Like, just based off of target share, not a good spot to be in, bud.
Could he? I think it's just a change of scenery, and he will be that top 25 option, give or take. I think he's a good player. I just think that, once again, another player that gets drafted too high and it's too, like, a lot of Kool-Aid with him. Yeah. All right, hit me with your tight end sleepers.
Tight end sleepers, Evan Ingram, Jags, Dalton Schultz, Houston. Again, these are dependent. Evan Ingram, if he breaks out, it's because T-Law broke out. So we're a lot of play off of each both positions here with a lot of these breakouts. They're dependent on other people, which that's kind of how that fucking works. In the NFL, is you're not gonna make it if the person throwing you the ball is not getting the ball to you. So Evan Ingram, just because of T-Law, and then Schultz, I think CJ Stroud's gonna need that absolute check down. He's gonna need that check down, and Damon Prince or Pierce is gonna I think he'll have a pretty solid year again as well. Probably another 1,000-yard season, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think they might be sneaky in Houston. It's a lot of unknowns. A lot of people I see with Nico
5 years.
Collins.
Yeah.
Nico Collins too is a guy that I see a lot of people hyping up. I'm not really sold on it. CJ Stroud is good though. I will give him that. So we'll see what happens with him. I also did have Dalton Schultz as one of my sleepers. But my main sleeper that I'm gonna write home about is gonna be Tyler Higbee from the Rams. So
Yeah.
he was actually the number 6 tight end overall last year, fourth in yards after catch, which was 403. He was tied for fifth in red zone targets with 16, fourth in target share. Granted, Cooper Kupp was out. Fifth in receptions was 72. They didn't add any new really wide receivers that are worth mentioning.
Yeah.
He was fourth in targets overall at the tight end position with 108, ninth in receiving yards, and third in routes run with 434. So, I mean, they're going to run the ball. I mean, they're still going to pass it. That's still what Stafford does. Until the wheels fall off, he will do that. Okay. Hit me with your breakouts.
Pitts, Kyle Pitts, Falcons, and then Kincaid, Buffalo. And then that kind of just moves into, well, I guess we'll wait, but Pitts, just because the guy's a talent. He's a talent. It's only a matter of time. He just has fucking dog shit people throwing him the football. Hopefully that ends next year when Kyler Murray's on the team. So, but hopefully he breaks out. Kincaid, eventually Dawson Knox is just going to get cut. So
I think they're going to utilize both personally.
I think, yeah, we'll see. I mean,
yeah. I'm a big fan of Kincaid. He's actually my bust. Jumping ahead with that one, but my breakout's actually Pat Fryermuth. He was fifth in tight end targets last year. I think Kenny Pickett can only go up from there. 27% more points and 28% more targets. He was a top 10 tight end despite just scoring 2 touchdowns last year. And in my deep breakout, Chig Okonkwo out of Tennessee. Yes, New Hopkins does take away from that, but last year he was 11th in ADOT with 7.9, second in target rate with 33.3%, first in routes run, which was 3.26, first in yards per reception, which was 14.1, and he was third in contested catches. So he can basically play wherever on the field. And he also broke 7 tackles last year.
All right.
And then busts. I got Evan Ingram and Dalton Kincaid. I think there's a lot of mouths to feed in Jacksonville now. I think he'll fall off a little bit. Also injury concerns. And then Kincaid, he's just a rookie, and usually rookie tight ends don't break out.
This is fair, just based on that principle. My busts are going to be Dawson Knox. Because Kincaid's going to break out.
I love how we basically just went backwards with it, but that's what brings up good discussion overall. Is just you never know, because all we know, Dawson Knox could be the guy still, and then Dalton Kincaid takes a couple of years. I actually think Josh Allen will feed both. Personally, I think Knox will rely on the touchdowns. I think Kincaid will be the guy across the middle. I did like your Kyle Pitts breakout. I think this is the year for it as well, and we can only go up from there.
And then the other bust is Cole Kmet, because the guy was just a waste of a draft pick.
Yeah, no one's buying the Notre Dame Kool-Aid anymore.
I was never buying it in the first place.
No, neither was I. I think there's too many mouths to feed in Chicago, and they're all going to drop the ball regardless. Those were our sleepers, breakout, and bust
this year. A lot of drops.
A lot of like just underwhelming with Claypool, Mooney, Moore. I don't know, just bad taste in my mouth. I don't know. I could be wrong, but
yeah, it could be exciting. It could be electric, some would say. Just
like my fantasy team this year. Hopefully, it will be about time. But that'll wrap it up. Any closing words, Sheriff?
No. We'll come back to you preseason maybe, or maybe during the preseason.
Yeah, maybe touch on a training camp, maybe do like a little mock draft of our all-time favorites or something fun like
Yeah,
that.
once training camp starts, people are gonna start running backs are gonna start dropping like flies.
Hopefully, hopefully not mine. I have a
Good.
lot of backups though, so
We know somebody's will. So that'll be the time to talk.
exactly. All right, buddy. Peace out.
Adios, Sheriff out.